Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing good tonight. I am a little bit tired and have a headache tonight, so hopefully I am still on my game and not too slow and tired. But yeah, hope everybody is doing well. Got a couple of interesting things to cover. Let's see what I want to get into first, though. Yeah, so there was this like bombing story that I think is kind of fake. Not um not fake as in it didn't happen, but I think it was a setup. The thing that happened in New York yesterday outside of Mandami's house during the Jake Lang protest or whatever, those two guys threw some makeshift bomb that didn't even really do anything. And the FBI has a history of like finding mentally ill people and setting them up. This happens frequently. And these were the guys, they were teenagers. The one was like 19 and they apparently like claimed their allegiance to ISIS and threw this weird device over Walter Masterson. Actually, let's look up Walter Masterson. Yeah, this guy is hilarious. But he was in the midst of all this and they threw the thing right over him. Where? Oh, here it is. Yeah. That was the dude throwing the thing. And he's doing it like all out in front of the cops and stuff. Like, what are you doing, man? Let's see if he posted the yeah, this is the video of it happening.
In New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. And it didn't do anything. Like, it smoked a little bit and, nothing really came of it. So this kind of thing has happened before. And when it has, it's usually a situation where the FBI or undercover FBI agents will go to certain gathering places of groups that they're targeting. And then they
Everyone
will,
here to stay.
they'll befriend people and, they'll find people that are like an easy target and they'll start talking them into doing a terrorist attack. And then they provide them with a fake bomb and then they arrest the person. It's like an entrapment thing. I don't even think they go as far as to like listen around to, figure out who actually already wants to commit terrorist attacks. They literally talk people into doing it. And this has happened so many times over the past like decade. Uh, but that's my assumption with it. And usually it comes out like they usually admit it during the court case because it's a part of the evidence. So that's kind of my assumption there. But the other interesting story I saw today was the Havana Syndrome. Let's see. I'll pull up the video. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I'll just kind of explain it. But 60 Minutes did a like an episode, I guess you call it, on Havana Syndrome and this microwave weapon that they've apparently found. And the whole story behind it is really crazy. So for years, people in the military, especially in like the CIA and FBI and stuff like that, people that travel a lot, were getting these crazy symptoms that nobody could explain. And the government was trying to act like, they're all crazy and it's all in their head. But for years, this has been a thing. And it turned out that no, actually, this was a real microwave weapon that apparently the Russians were using. And about a year ago, I reported on this story, but I didn't have all the context behind it. Um, they um, they bought one of these devices from Russian gangsters, like the Russian mob or some shit like that. Undercover agents did. And this was their first time getting a hold of this device. And the reason why they were so dismissive to the soldiers, or at least their excuse for why they were so dismissive, is because they didn't think that it was possible to create a device that would uh, to create a microwave weapon that was smaller than a truck. They didn't think that that was possible. And because that was so far out of their frame of what was possible, they were like, nothing could cause this. Now, I've always had theories that like the government knew more than they were letting on. And for some reason, either didn't want to pursue it or they had something to do with the thing in general. You know what I mean? With the symptoms. So it turns out that all of these people that were experiencing this, they actually have proof because they found surveillance footage where these CIA agents were like at a cafe in some foreign country undercover, and somebody walks into the cafe with a backpack and sets it down next to him, and then everybody at the table starts like holding their head and feeling weird and shit. And so they did trace it back to this thing. And I really do believe that this weapon was tested in the Venezuelan mission, because there were people. I did a video about this. People were reporting these kind of symptoms, these kind of like microwave weapons symptoms. Like it felt like your insides were kind of boiling, and it's like these weird symptoms that they described. So um yeah, this is a very, very weird thing. It's not really a microwave weapon, it's a weapon that oscillates at a frequency that is lower than the harmonic resonance of the earth, therefore throwing your body in your brain as well. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so I know it's like I don't know exactly what the science of how to describe it properly is, but it is some kind of frequency weapon, I guess you could say. But yeah, this report I think has the most context because the thing I read a while back was like I think it was the documents that I read from, like, this science journal or something like that. I'm not sure if it was the same ones, but it was, like, very technical, and I didn't exactly understand, uh, especially how they got a hold of the thing. The fact that they bought it from, like, a gang or the mafia, it says that this is like not it's escaped government containment, you know what I mean? So that is pretty wild that this is just something that they have, and not just something that governments have, something that random gangs can have. The other thing that I found quite interesting was, so we just discovered this whole new weapon that this country didn't even think was possible. And the Russians, who were supposed to be in a weaker economic standpoint, a weaker military position, they ended up figuring this out, something that we didn't even know was possible. And even in this situation right now with Iran, their drones are totally like years ahead of where our technology is, and they can't stop the drones. So defensively, they're behind in that regard, and offensively, the drones that our military uses have a far shorter distance that they can travel and stuff like that. So it's like we have the most funded military on the planet, you know what I mean, and have for decades, and yet other countries are flying past us and doing shit that is futuristic considered compared to ours, which is pretty wild. So I think that there was a point that I heard earlier today that I think makes a lot of sense, is because a lot of these countries are doing this stuff out of necessity, where there is a situation here in the US where we have just these contractors who are just milking these government contracts, and they're not necessarily being super innovative because they don't really need to. They're not doing it because they're actually trying to, you know, um, there's only a few people who are really passionate about the imperialism beyond the money that they can get from it. So that was just something that I thought was super interesting. And yeah, let's see. Let me pull up this real quick. Zorro Ranch was searched today for the first, I think for the first, yeah, for the first time ever. And there was a little bit of a protest there yesterday, I believe, or a vigil slash protest, I guess. Let's see.
Also tonight, there are still so many questions and a renewed push to try to find out exactly what happened on the New Mexico property that Jeffrey Epstein used to own, Zorro Ranch. In an effort to get some answers, hundreds of people came out to the area, including family members of those who said they were abused on that very ranch. As our Monica Logroño found out, they're trying to get a law passed that could help all victims of sexual abuse.
With the backdrop of the infamous Zorro Ranch, hundreds came out Sunday to demand answers for the crimes they say occurred when Jeffrey Epstein owned the property. No charges were filed against him in New Mexico, but victims, their families, and those who believe them say the ranch was a house of horrors. And it's up to New Mexico to uncover the truth.
And I can feel her. She's here. She's with us. She's been with us every step of the way.
For the first time, Sky Roberts and his family came to San Rafael Ranch, formerly known as Zorro Ranch, the place his sister, Virginia Giuffre, said she was sexually abused.
Virginia was one of the most prominent and outspoken survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and other perpetrators out there that are still walking free today.
Sunday, they were joined by hundreds who want the same thing, justice for Virginia, and the countless other victims they believe were abused at the ranch.
The world needs to see this. It's uncomfortable, it hurts, it's painful, but we can't move on from this.
Supporters also had to set up a new memorial Sunday after the one placed February 28th was mysteriously removed.
We'll do it for as long as we have to do it.
Mysteriously removed the vigil. That's weird. What? That had to have been the property owner, Don Humphines, I would imagine.
You know, I think the survivors aren't going anywhere. We won't be silenced, we won't be moved, and we won't be shaken.
Following her death, Virginia Giuffre's family is continuing her fight for justice for all victims. They're working with Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez to pass Virginia's law.
Virginia's law is key to allow survivors of all sexual abuse and trafficking to be able to sue their perpetrators, because justice should not have a deadline. It should not expire.
The law would remove the current 10-year statute of limitations for adult survivors of sexual abuse and sex trafficking.
This was like her dream. She didn't want to just affect like the change on a base level. She wanted to affect it on a global level, and that's what Virginia's law does.
We still don't.
Yeah, that statute of limitations for like crimes against children is wild because it takes years to figure out what happened to you in many cases. I'm personally glad that statute of limitations exists for drug crimes and stuff like that, but for things where you're actually hurting people, that's ridiculous. And I think that's just set up for, to benefit people in power who are guilty as hell.
Don't know who removed the first memorial, which was protected by state law. Removing a roadside memorial is considered a criminal offense. Sunday, I tried talking to the guards on the property to ask if they knew anything, but they refused to talk to me. The New Mexico Department of Transportation said they did not remove the memorial and told our partners at the Santa Fe New Mexican that the manager of the property asked whether it could be cleared away last Tuesday, to which the spokesperson said they could not remove it. Monica Logroño, KOB4.
An update related to that very story. During that memorial service, there was some praise for the new Epstein Truth Commission that was recently established by our New Mexico lawmakers. Virginia Giuffre's brother said it's all in an effort that the rest of the world needs to support.
Mexico's leading the way. I mean, the Congresswoman's leading the way. We're seeing state representatives lead the way. This is an example that I think the rest of the world can take from. We're not seeing enough action in this administration. We're not seeing enough action across the United States right now. We have some work to do. And I think today is a show of force. It shows you that people do care. People do want the truth. And we won't stop until justice is served, period.
Yeah, it's nuts having statute of limitations for that. I mean, there's not a statute of limitations for murder and stuff like that. There shouldn't be for those kind of crimes either.
Remember, New Mexico launched the effort to re-examine allegations of criminal activity there at the ranch. During the legislative session, a bipartisan coalition of state lawmakers created the Epstein Truth Commission. A couple days after the committee's initial meeting, Attorney General Raul Torres reopened the criminal investigation into Zorro Ranch.
Then this is kind of related, but this is actually some good news. The Alexander brothers were found guilty on all counts. These were very rich brothers that were connected to both Trump and Epstein. Appeared in the Epstein files. Were accused in the Epstein files. They weren't just people who were, mentioned randomly, like any of the many celebrities that they tried to throw out there. Like some of the celebrities are guilty, but like some of the like Marilyn Monroe and like the people who weren't even alive.
To get to right now, a guilty verdict for the Alexander brothers. The three men, two of which were famous luxury real estate brokers, were convicted of sex trafficking. More than 60 women said they were raped by one or more of their brothers. And during a 5-week trial, 11 women testified about attacks that they say involved drugs and rape. Twins Orrin and Alon Alexander are 38. All of the other Alexanders 39. We're going to have more in this breaking news as we get it. To get to right now.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the actual print article, see if they had anything else in there. I'm curious. I guess they won't have the sentencing yet. That's what the judge brings down. But I'd imagine it's pretty serious. This is a years-long conspiracy of trafficking, abuse, exploitation. So this is definitely, they're going to be going away for a long time, I think. Which is actually quite shocking. Oh, okay. Accuse him of recording and sharing a video of an incapacitated 17-year-old girl in April 2009. Wow. So there was video evidence. Yeah, these guys are terrible. I think it's 3 of them, isn't it? It's Orrin, Tal, and Alon. I only thought there was 2 as well, but for some reason, like I guess there was 3. There's over 11 accusers that stood trial. There's probably much more than that they didn't testify or yeah. Wow. I didn't expect it to go that quickly either. The trial, because it was just like 2 months ago. That was a very quick trial. Trump had a press conference today where there was a couple of interesting things. He's crazy, but
please go ahead. Mr. President,
this journalist, I've never seen this guy or heard of this guy, but this guy is awesome. Listen to this.
you just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation, but Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
And then later, when asked again, this was an insane answer, by the way. And the guy just straight up said, like, why would Iran have Tomahawk missiles? And then he says, we sell them to a lot of people. And then later he says, we sell them to Iran. And it's like, we have had crippling sanctions on this country for decades. What are you talking about? The only operators of Tomahawk missiles are the United States Navy, Royal Australian, Royal Netherlands. So this is the additional follow-up question.
Tomahawk missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I haven't seen it. And I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, But whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now.
A tomahawk is very generic. I think it's like a signature United States weapon. This is a weird one. You said the war is very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it? He says you could say both.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
The beginning, it's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement. We could call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further. But
And he says we're going to go further. And it's very strange. He's been oscillating because of the fact that, the economy situation not good. He thought that this was going to be quick. But it seems like there's a lot of pressure to continue. And right here, he's admitting to war crimes. I don't know if this is a different press conference or the same one. It looks like a different backdrop. But he basically said we could have just captured those boats, but we said it would be more fun to sink them.
the Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? He said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, they like sinking them better. They say it's
That sounds like Pete Hegseth there.
safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But think of it.
And think of all the just ecological damage that 30 sunken ships or whatever is causing in that in that body of water. Just the idea, I've always really thought it was so ridiculous of us as individuals being blamed for the environmental problems when it's you know, not to mention the fuel companies that keep that racket going, but the war is the biggest polluter on the face of the planet, militaries.
knocked out 46, and actually took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone. We're counting down the minutes until they will be gone. Think of it. We had leaders and they're gone. Then we had new leaders and they're gone. And now nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country.
And see, that's the problem is winning a war is not just about bombing shit and destroying people's capabilities. I mean, they saw that in Afghanistan and Vietnam. They should have. Regime change can only come from within. And that's why I never support any of this, no matter how bad the regime is allegedly said to be, because it's not our business to be all over the place, and it's not ethical. You know what I'm saying? It's always massive human rights violations that are even worse than it was prior. And this whole idea where the United States needs to have constant hegemony all over the world is insane. And it hasn't led to anything good. Here he's talking about how he wants to do a friendly takeover of Cuba, or there may be not a not so friendly takeover. And with Cuba, I mean, you can't even really. There's not even really much to say there. There was a disenfranchisement of the the large landowners under Castro, but it's not most of the problems that exist there now are the result of the sanctions, and especially as we could see that the place is in a total blackout right now because the U.S. has blocked off
May
fuel.
not be a friendly takeover. It wouldn't matter because they're really they're down to, as they say, fumes. They have no energy. They have no money. They're in deep trouble on a humanitarian basis.
This is kind of interesting point to that. I haven't listened to this
And it
thing
asked,
yet, but I saw it and I saw the intro here, and it says from 1971 to 2021, U.S. murdered 38 million people. The amount of havoc that we have wrought in the Middle East in recent years is just stunning. What we do in places like Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, we use economic leverage to basically starve people to make them suffer. And I wrote about a part of this, well, ultimately became a script for a video. The Cold War was World War III, where I talk about this time in history that is really I think it should be called World War III because of the amount of people that died and the shifts that happened in the global order from it and how it really did follow as a direct result of World War II. Um, but yeah, I and that is why I think that the United States government has no business lecturing people on human rights, you know?
71 to 2021. And it asked, what were the consequences of those sanctions? And we murdered 38 million people. 38 million people. The amount of havoc we have wrought on the Middle East in recent years is just stunning. If you think about the consequences of the Iraq War, what we do in places like Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, you understand we're using this tremendous economic leverage we have to basically starve people, to make them suffer, to inflict great punishment on them so that they'll rise up against their government. You understand that this is what we're doing in Venezuela. This is what we're doing in Iran. We're inflicting massive punishment on these people. Given all that, I find it very difficult to talk about the United States as a noble country. I just don't. 71 to 2021. And it asked, what were the consequences?
Yeah, I do think that it is that there can be circumstances where there is valid intervention, but not when it's done for the sake of hegemony. And that is a very good point. And I think that everything is always done for the sake of hegemony with the United States since World War II, at the very least. But it actually goes back further. If you like would read Smedley Butler and War is a Racket, where he talked about how uh, all of those wars in the beginning of the 20th century were all about just pillaging resources. So, yeah, I think that it's kind of, you know, you look at the situation with Saudi Arabia. I think their human rights record is much worse than Iran, but we are super tight with them, happy to give them all of the, you know, military tools and equipment in the world, but because they play along, you know what I mean? They are compliant with the corporations and they are, they are not any kind of resistance force in the region to Israeli expansion. And that's not to say that I'm like, I think the regime is good or anything like that. I'm just laying out the facts. Um, I don't think any kind of theocracy is good.
Here's exactly what he said. These ships should go through.
Trump is saying that the oil tankers that aren't driving through the strait or sailing through the Strait of Hormuz should just, grow some balls and take the
through the
risk.
Strait of Hormuz and show some guts. There's nothing to be afraid of. They have no navy. We sunk all their ships. He went on to say, he said, look, yeah, there's risk in the region. The region's volatile. They are launching.
Some people are going to die. Just go ahead. Like, it's insane. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah, I brought that one up. So I might be done with his press conference clips. See if there's any more. Oh yeah, there was one that was a quote. It didn't have a video attached to it, but he said that J.D. Vance was maybe less enthusiastic, but quite enthusiastic about going to the war. The war is very complete and just the beginning. And this person commented that like he's very good at saying two different things in the same breath, which I thought was a very, very interesting and on point comment. So this is on Fox News, how they're talking about how it is highly unlikely that anybody but the United States bombed that girl's school, which it's shocking to see this on Fox News.
I want to bring in Jen Griffin, our national security correspondent. One of the questions, Jen, in that news conference was about the strike on the girls' school that's next to a base in Iran, and it was a Tomahawk missile. The president saying Tomahawks are used by other countries, but an investigation is ongoing. What do we know about where that stands?
Well, that was a bit surprising to me because basically the U.S. has Tomahawks. Tomahawks have to be fired from either submarines or from warships. The Brits and the Australians have Tomahawks, but they're not part of this conflict. And then you also have the Japanese who are in a testing phase. So it seems highly unlikely that it would be anyone's Tomahawk other than a U.S. Tomahawk that hit that school. And I think the president knows that. He just knows that this is certainly a mistake, a big mistake, and it's being investigated, but he's trying to sort of muddy the waters by talking about the Tomahawks.
Yeah, they were saying that they didn't believe it was theirs, or they believed that Iran misfired something. Are we sure that it was a Tomahawk that hit that school?
There's no evidence that the Iranians fired anything at this school. If you look at the satellite imageries, and there've been a lot of investigations from the air, from these satellite photos showing the impact and showing the likelihood that it was a Tomahawk.
I'm shocked by this, that this is on television in general and on Fox News specifically. Because remember how long, if you were watching the very first days of the situation in Gaza, they kept on trying to say that Hamas was bombing their own hospitals. And obviously that came out to not be true, but it was a very effective diversion in those early days. And it doesn't seem to be working anymore, which is somewhat reassuring, you know? Let's take a look. I came across this video here where she's talking about how they, in addition to the oil that's raining down on them, creating a, I just can't even imagine the effects of this. Seeing it was just apocalyptic. And I couldn't even imagine living in it. But in addition to that, a bunch of pharmaceutical factories were targeted. This is a country that is heavily sanctioned, can't get medicine from anywhere else, while there is this, ecological disaster in the middle of their 10 million person city.
United States of Israel, as Samira, one of my favorite Iranian journalists in the West, calls it, bombed an oil refinery as well as an oil depot, and everything is on fire, and that has actually resulted in petroleum leaking into the water. It's obviously contaminated. As Ariana pointed out in her video on this, you can go to her page, Ariana Jasmine. She made a video talking about the environmental hazards and health risks that come with everything being on fire, which is smoke inhalation, debris inhalation. We all know that by now. And I want to take it one step further, because they've also targeted 14 pharmaceutical sites in Iran. And for those that don't know, the sanctions make it so that Iran has to produce all of its own medicine. And that's the only stuff there is in the country right now. They've targeted 7 Red Crescent sites and I believe 4 hospitals. I'll put the infographic here, but do you know how insidious it is to cause environmental hazards to one's health and then cut off the medical supply of the country knowing that they can't get more? They hit the pharmaceutical like the manufacturer, Dorupash. They hit that. Like, they are actively trying to kill people. And people are out here still saying that Iranians are celebrating and this is for women's rights or whatever the fuck. No, this is about killing as many people as possible and turning Iran into Gaza and carving it up for the imperial powers. And it's never been about anything else.
Yep, I think that's very, very accurate. These are other reports that we have here that says that the US could be using 2,000-pound JDAM bombs on urban areas in Iran. And even I think CNN seemed to point in that direction. At the Turkish border crossing, many fleeing Tehran tell us that they are seeing huge explosions that are collapsing homes for many meters to the right and left of their targets. These bombs, even adapted for precision targeting, have a kill radius of 30 meters and can use structural collapse up to 365 meters away. They were used by Israel and Gaza. Amnesty International is advocating for US Congress to block the use of these bombs in residential areas. So look at this. So these are verified videos and photos from this BBC journalist. He's able to geolocate them. And this is one of the most insane things I ever seen. They're driving away from this blast and it completely shatters their window.
میزنن برو برو دارن موشک میزنن برو 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 یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس برو برو
Like what?
یا عباس
And like that's seems like that could have been what happened unless it was debris, but I didn't see any debris. I watched this a few times trying to figure out what that was, and it just seemed like the
تمام شیشه ها
blast.
خورد شدن
I think that this is somebody in the back seat who's recording from the back. So it's not the driver, it's like a backseat passenger.
یا عباس همه رو داغون کردن برو آقا برو باید چه دیوونه برو
Like and remember, like Pete Hegseth said, like, no more woke rules of engagement. They're just and they've given up the pretense that this is actually for liberation or whatever. They've kind of stopped pretending the little bit that they were pretending on that. If you are on Twitter, I would follow this Cheyenne Sardarizide. Cheyenne 86. It's been like geolocated videos every day that they post, which is very helpful because there's so much AI fake stuff, and it's been hard to sift through and figure out what's actually legit. And in addition to, I think we just talked about some of the profiteering a minute ago, but Eric Trump has a drone company that or is heavily invested in this drone company here that will be up for a Pentagon contract, and I'm sure they're going to get it. They're vying to meet Pentagon demand and fill. Oh, so they've already gotten the contract. Yeah. And there's been a ban on Chinese drones in the US, which may have happened without that, but it is also definitely shady and corrupt. You know what I mean? Let's see. One of the other plans, this was from this can be quite dangerous, and I hope that this is not what is being worked towards. This is from a journalist named Chris Murray saying MI6 are concerned that the Trump circle are serious about occupying Karg Island to declare victory. My source described it as a military and strategically nuts and a certain off the scale environmental catastrophe. So I had never heard of this before. Like I wasn't super familiar with the area, so I looked it up, and it turns out that there have been a bunch of articles about this in the past couple days. Um, that they're looking to seize Karg Island, and J.P. Morgan says that this could make the oil situation even worse. Iran's oil exports would stall and output and Iran's oil exports would stall and output half in the U.S. if Israel, if the U.S. and Israel were to seize its port on Karg Island. That was worded very strange, triggering further actions from Tehran on regional oil infrastructure. J.P. Morgan said in a note. Axios reported on March 7th that the U.S. administration had discussed seizing the island, which sits some 30 kilometers off Iran's coast in the Gulf and processes 90% of its crude oil. A direct strike would immediately halt the bulk of Iran's crude exports, likely triggering severe retaliation in the Strait of Hormuz or against regional energy infrastructure. So I guess there are a lot of people worried about the ecological part of this because it's just on an island and it would probably, contaminate the entire strait, which is very small. So that is another potential concern. And I was also seeing one of the reasons why we are not seeing a whole lot of footage from there is because of the severe penalties that people are getting for recording. In Dubai, this guy says right after moving there about a month ago, 2 drones exploded next to their building. He was listed number 3 on the United Arab Emirates public prosecutors list for publishing illegal content, resulting in his ex account being banned across the country, followed by another week of hiding in the basement due to constant barrages of missiles and drones. Then, a couple days ago, after Marine 23 and the airport got hit, I decided we've pushed our luck far enough. Made our way over the border of Oman the night before last and this morning. Good luck to everyone, but if you have the means to get out, I suggest you do so. Like, and then there was another one in Qatar where they've arrested like 300 people. I'm seeing. Let's see. I want to make sure that that number is correct because it was an iffy source that I saw it from. It was like disclose or one of them weird. Let's see. Oh yeah, it is. It's got a couple of mainstream sources even. So 300 people of different nationalities have been arrested in Qatar for disseminating, what was it that they called it? Misleading information. And a lot of it is they don't want, it's not just that they don't want evidence of them being hit. They don't want evidence of United States missiles and airplanes leaving their country, because then that will give more justification for them to be attacked even more. See what else there, because then you got things like this. I know whoever filmed this definitely got in trouble. Video recorded by Bangladeshi camel herder in Kuwait shows an American HIMARS launch pod in the desert, confirming that the U.S. fired ballistic missiles at Iran from Kuwaiti territory. So right here, that will be used as justification for more drones going to Kuwait, and I'm sure this dude got in trouble. And then here's more evidence from Bahrain, and then there's protests in Bahrain about this as well. Here's the missile going out from Bahrain. And I mean, this was all known, I mean, they got bases there. So let's see what else we got. There was this report that came out that I don't think has gotten a lot of attention over the past couple days. I'm not sure if it's, let's see. ProPublica is usually legit. I'm not sure how revealing it is though. is releasing a trove of disclosure records that detail the finances of more than 1,500 Trump appointees, including former lobbyists, industry executives, and at least a dozen officials who declined to identify former clients. So, what did they figure out here? I haven't actually read that. Like I said, I don't know how interesting this is, but let's find out. Documents reveal a web of financial ties between Trump officials and the industries they help regulate. Yeah, this is definitely not surprising. And I did talk a lot about this in my Palantir video that I put out today. YouTube probably didn't show it to you, but it is in the deep dive section of my channel. So, thousands of companies are jockeying for billions of dollars in Defense Department contracts to build a shield designed to intercept and destroy missiles launched against the United States. Is like, should they still be building this now that they know how poorly these things work and how easy they are to bypass? Is this just a fake like scam project that they're just trying to, you know? But amidst the intense competition, a handful of firms have an important inside connection. At least 4 of the companies awarded contracts so far are owned by Cerberus Capital Management, a private equity firm founded by billionaire Steve Feinberg, who until last year ran a company and is now Deputy Secretary of Defense, the second highest ranking official in the Pentagon. That's a massive conflict of interest. Feinberg oversees the office in charge of the Golden Dome for American project, which is modeled on Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. Feinberg filed paperwork saying he divested from Cerberus and its related businesses, but his government ethics records contain an unusual clause. He is allowed to continue contracting with the company for tax compliance and accounting service, as well as healthcare coverage, a financial relationship the documents show could continue indefinitely. Feinberg's financial statements and ethics agreement are a part of a trove of nearly over 3,000 disclosure records that ProPublica is making public today. The disclosures, which can be viewed in a searchable online tool, detail the finances of more than 1,500 federal officials appointed by the President Donald Trump. Records for Trump and Vice President Vance are also included. Documents reveal a web of financial ties between senior government officials and the industries they help regulate, relationships that have drawn scrutiny as Trump has dismantled ethics safeguards designed to prevent conflicts of interest. So, wow, this could be a. Oh, did they? Well, that's good. Maybe my thumbnail just sucks. I think the thumbnail is not good. I need to up my thumbnail game. Let's see. This could be another thing for us to dive into. Since I'm coming up on time and I got my headache tonight, I can't like dig through these files tonight, but maybe I could do them tomorrow. Let's take a look at what they look like. Where is the actual? I think these are the disclosures, right? So these are the wealthiest people in Trump's only got $1.4 billion after all the scamming that he's been doing for the past couple years. You would think that, like, Howard Lutnick, like, you seriously, like, you helped do 9/11. How are you not a billionaire? You know what I mean? What's going on with that? Let's see what we got. Let's start at the top. I didn't even this Feinberg guy. I mean, I've heard the name before, but I'm not super familiar with him. Cerberus Executive Management. So line number, end note. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of connections we could find in here. What is this? 74, 76. Okay, so this is his roles outside of the government. There's all these different tabs. This is his employment assets. How did they get all this shit? Some people like people got to be looking through this and connecting this with with the Epstein files and stuff. Employment agreements, compensation. These are all places he gets compensated from, but it doesn't say how much. These are oh wait, here it says other assets and income. Got multiple bank accounts. Liabilities. This is pretty interesting. I'll share the link here in the chat if anybody's interested in browsing through themselves. And you know, if you're a little bit better of a skilled researcher than I am, maybe you could figure something out with it. Cause I'm just not sure what I'm looking for here. Just got everybody listed out by their net worth and their see the thing that this is useful for is like this can be a resource. Like if you're looking through the files and you find a name or you find a business, the name of a business especially, this can be cross-referenced with it. Let's see if I just come up with Heritage Foundation. Anything in there? Heritage Foundation. Yeah, everybody. Everybody on the fucking administration. Let's see, Palantir. This search could be pretty good. Let's see. 141 results. Palantir. The CTO of Palantir is the director of. This is crazy, actually. This search function, now I understand. So, Clark Minor, CTO and Chief Information Officer of Department of Health and Human Services. Jacob Heldberg, Secretary of State. Got Palantir all over it. And like as I explained in the video I put out this morning, like so many of these people are so deep in Palantir. I didn't know it was like this because this goes down so far. This is 141 results for Palantir in this administration. JP Morgan, maybe 107 results. This is like just the ruling class. Exxon, 152 results. Goldman Sachs. Is it one N or two? Yeah, one. Goldman Sachs, 208. This is interesting. Look at this shit. Shane Shannon, Counsel, General Counsel, Department of the Treasury. David Perdue. I wonder if you're from Purdue Pharma. No, that was the Sackler family. Never mind. The name wasn't yeah. Robert F. Kennedy got some Goldman. I bet he's got some wild ass investments. Yeah, so this is definitely a pretty good resource. I think that the connections will kind of come together over time because like I said, people, even journalists, will be searching an individual story and this could be a great resource for them. Like I'm definitely going to bookmark this for when I'm researching my videos because I'll be able to, like, if I'm talking about anybody in the Trump administration, I could just look them up real quick and then have all, like, Howard Lutnick, if I was doing a video about him, this would be an awesome resource. I'd just be able to come through here, look at all of his assets, and then I'd be able to search for any kind of like companies that might have shady connections. See what all his roles are. Like, look at all these like properties and like management. It's like, how are you involved in this much shit? And it's like you're getting paid for everything you got your hands in. All these people do all day is just make deals to make money off other people's work. That's all they fucking do. Yeah, I'll post it in the Discord for sure. Yeah, cool. Enjoy the rewind. Yeah, this is a cool database. ProPublica is always killing it with this kind of shit. Yeah, I would definitely I'll post that in the Discord now in the general. See what else I had. Think that. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. There's also this. Hopefully I could get by the paywall. Is this published? This was published today. It says Epstein victim 16 told FBI that Trump was on the phone during attack. This is a totally different one. Different from Katie Johnson, different from the one that said that she bit him. Epstein told a 16-year-old girl to massage him as she spoke to Donald Trump on speakerphone, a victim of the late trafficker has alleged to federal investigators. The shocking new allegation was uncovered by the Daily Mail, which notes that Epstein allegedly barked the order in the massage room at his 7-story Manhattan townhome in 2004. Simultaneously, the victim, who says that she was a high school junior at the time, claimed that Epstein took off his clothes and climbed onto the massage table. She alleges that he then abused her there. The woman told investigators that Epstein was on phone with Trump when she arrived at his Upper Side lair, her third visit to his home. Epstein told the woman to hurry up upon arrival, saying, let's go," according to the FBI memo. That horrific scene was detailed in a document that the Justice Department did not release until last week. It was not a part of the first major dump in the Epstein files in January because it was incorrectly marked as a duplicate, the DOJ has claimed. I highly doubt that. Epstein got on the massage table and was on speakerphone with Donald Trump, the FBI memo reads. The victim started getting undressed, and they started massaging him. The victim started massaging Epstein's feet and pointed to his back. From there, Epstein accuser alleged that he grabbed her hand and pulled her on top of him. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in here that they're missing. It's unclear how the woman knew Trump was on the line and whether he, then in a relationship with Melania Trump but not yet married to her, knew what was occurring on the other line. Other details about the supposed call, like what else was discussed and how it ended, remain a mystery too. Reach for comment, the White House recycled a statement to the Daily Beast that claimed there is no evidence for such a call. These are completely baseless accusations, backed by zero credible evidence from a sadly disturbed woman who has an extensive criminal history. They always tried to discredit people, and it's like, yeah, of course you may end up with a criminal history if you've been through hell, you know? The victim who alleged that Epstein abused her shortly after the call with Trump was born in Chile and grew up in Queens, she told the FBI. The second accuser told agents that she grew up in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Yeah, so this is another one that's coming out through all this. I have a feeling it won't be the last either. It is probably, just one of many things, because you got to think there are still millions of things held back, and they're probably the worst that he was most concerned with. So I can't even imagine what else is in there. And if we're gonna even find out, I'm surprised that this yeah, no, this is a different one than that one, than the status quo one, I think. Because that was the one where they interviewed her 4 times. This was she didn't say that she was assaulted by Trump. She just said that she was assaulted by Epstein while Trump was on speakerphone, which is bizarre. Yeah, Hilton Head. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a different one that they're talking about. Yeah, the second accuser. Yeah. Yeah, so this I guess they were saying that this is the second one directly related to Trump this week, that came out in the files. So yeah, I really don't think that this is the end of it, but I'm just not sure where we go at this point. I know that some of them are still in there looking at the unredacted files, but we haven't really heard much from them. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. Oh, it had a beauty pageant link. That is even more sketchy because his there was that thing was a front for trafficking for sure. There was something definitely going on with his like what like 40-50-year-old man is like I'm gonna judge or own a beauty pageant for young girls. It is the most creep shit. Like, come on. And that was just like kind of seen as normal back then, I guess. I was too young to know how the rest of the world was perceiving that, how the adult world was perceiving that. But it seems like it was just normalized. Like you know, the older dudes preying on younger women seemed normalized. I guess that was in many kind of public facing cultures, I guess you could say, where you got people who are kind of like in the spotlight and seem to have some kind of power. Um, but then again, I guess it even happens in just normal workplaces and stuff too. But yeah, that is all I got for today. Um, hope you all have a good evening, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace, everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos. And if you have the ability and want to contribute, take a look at my Patreon, where you can find a subscription to my books and a bunch of other cool stuff, like the ability to send links in chat and access to closed rooms in our Discord server.